I have unveiled the entire thing here to my left because I did not want to logistically stress myself out with creating all the graphics. So I'm sure y'all are going to explode in the chat as you see where certain players have been taken. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm going to break these picks down, not in an extreme way because I could be here for an hour plus. We're going to do more than one mock draft as well. Definitely going to do more than one mock draft because there's trades, there's certain players that could go higher or lower. As I go through the mock draft here, I'll be able to tell you guys, hey, thought this guy could have went higher. Maybe I picked them a little lower. PFF kind of had me messed up with their draft simulator referring all the players that they did. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the NFL with AJL 2023 mock draft 1.0. And off the top, the Carolina Panthers, after they gave up the haul to go to the number one pick, they will be taking CJ Stroud over Bryce Young. Panthers are going to be just a little concerned about Bryce Young's size. Some will say that Bryce Young is more talented than CJ Stroud, which I could possibly agree with. I give CJ Stroud the slight nod because of the health, because of the size. He has a lot of great receivers. He had a lot of great receivers, don't get me wrong, to throw to in Ohio State. But nonetheless, CJ Stroud at number one. Number two, right behind him, you will see Bryce Young going to the Texans. They know Davis Mills is not it. Bryce Young, clearly the quarterback two in this class. Very accurate, very athletic, can make a lot of offense out of nothing. And knowing what he did with Alabama, without the plethora of wide receivers, without the plethora of talent like they've had before, seeing them not get deep into the playoffs and knowing that Bryce Young still played well is a testament to the player there. Number three, the Arizona Cardinals will be taking the best player available on the board for their position, Will Anderson over Jalin Carter. A lot of people are expecting Jalin Carter to go here at number three. Will Anderson's the best edge rusher in the draft, also doubles as a linebacker coming out of Alabama. Absolute monster. If you roll with the tide, you know what Will Anderson's doing. At number four, Frank Reich is going to be comfortable here with the Colts. I want to make sure I am saying that correctly. So he's with the Panthers. Got you. Number four, I was totally butchering that. Number four, the Indianapolis Colts will be taking Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. I'm not a fan of this pick here, but again, this is one of many mocks that's going to happen. This is a possibility. Nothing's really set in stone in the NFL draft for sure until really until the first pick happens. I mean, that's the only thing that's really set in stone is the first pick. And then after that, it's okay, what trades are going to happen? Who's going to move up? Who's going to move down? Will Levis at number four to the Indianapolis Colts. My biggest complaint about Will Levis is I don't like how airy his throws are. His footwork isn't necessarily the greatest, and I think he could have overall better follow through and just more zip on the football. Number five, the Seattle Seahawks are going to go in the trenches and take Jalin Carter, defensive lineman out of Georgia. Some that say this is a guy that's the best player in the draft. I think it's absolutely not crazy, but interesting that he's not going to visit any teams outside of the top 10. I love the manifestation, knowing he's going to go in the top 10. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, very reputable agent in the NFL, represented Antonio Brown at one time. He believes he's going to go in the top 10. He's had some off-field stuff that's bothered me, but Jalin Carter at 5 to the Seahawks. At number 6, a guy that I feel like I snagged early in this draft, but the Lions are going to want to put a monster next to Aiden Hutchinson. They just brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, so they're going to double down with Nolan Smith, who a guy, edge rusher out of Georgia, does have some concerns about his size, but had the blazing speed at the combine. Nolan Smith at number 6. Now, the spiciest pick probably, or one of the spiciest picks of my first mock draft, is the Raiders taking the chance on Anthony Richardson at number 7. And yes, I did have a take about this, that the Raiders would be that team. And I even had some fans agreeing with me that the Raiders would be that team to take Anthony Richardson at the number 6 position, number 7 position. Very, very raw quarterback, ranked dead last in FBS out of 43 or 45 quarterbacks for accuracy overall. Looked great on the ground, nice rushing yards. I don't even think he had 2,000 passing yards this year. Some plays he looks like he's the best in the league or could be, and other plays you're like, how is this guy playing quarterback? We've seen the Raiders jump at an Alex Leatherwood. We've seen the Raiders jump at toxic players in the past. We've seen players jump at unrefined players in the past before. Unfortunately, I think this trait for this mock draft continues, and Anthony Richardson goes at number 7. Right after that, a high pick, I feel like, for the Atlanta Falcons. I think that they're going to be okay with Desmond Ridder, they're comfortable with Desmond Ridder being the starter. They've already named him that. You've already got reports coming out. Of course, saying the right things, that Desmond Ridder's excited to be here. He wants to be a Falcon. He's promising them a Super Bowl, and he's excited to be the quarterback. So they're going to give him another weapon. They take Kyle Pitts 2 years ago. They take Drake London last year. Now they take the best wide receiver in the NFL draft out of Ohio State. One of CJ Stroud's favorite targets, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Very crisp route running, great hands. JSN is by far the wide receiver one in this draft. At number 9, the first offensive lineman to come off the board will be Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern to protect Justin Fields. I am totally on the train. You might see me take offensive linemen at every single point right here in my mock drafts, unless they trade out of it. Justin Fields needs to be protected. I want to say he was still the second most sacked or the most sacked quarterback last year in the NFL, and still put up numbers the way he did. I know they only won 3 games. Very, very embarrassing. But Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern to the Chicago Bears. The Philadelphia Eagles at number 10, thanks to the New Orleans Saints, will pick Paris Johnson Jr. And I would really like to be the Saints here picking at 10 for Paris Johnson Jr., or maybe even able to jump in and get a quarterback at this position in the draft. But nonetheless, the Eagles, Jason Kelsey did come back. Lane Johnson did come back. Isaac Samalo did leave, but they did have Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson that are still there as well. There is some age on that offensive line, and while there is depth, it never hurts to continue to protect your quarterback. So they will also take a offensive lineman back-to-back here at the number 10 pick, Paris Johnson Jr. I definitely goofed here at number 11, taking Quentin Johnson for the Tennessee Titans. I'm not saying that the Titans shouldn't take a receiver, but I feel like if I could go back and do it again, I would probably have probably, and it feels early, right? Probably a Zay Flowers, maybe a Jordan Addison. I don't believe Quentin Johnson is the wide receiver 2 at this point. We're three weeks out of the NFL draft. But nonetheless, Quentin Johnson at number 11 out of TCU, the wide receiver. At number 12, the Texans will go defense after taking Bryce Young, number 2 overall, and go Tyree Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech, Patrick Mahomes' alma mater. Not that that matters. Just wanted to drop that nugget in there for you, though. Great edge rusher in this draft, high up on a lot of boards, has nice moves, has a nice speed. Of course, there is never a perfect prospect in this NFL draft. Texans will do nicely with Tyree Wilson. Number 13, the New York Jets will bring in Broderick Jones, drafting Broderick Jones, tackle out of Georgia here. Great lineman, did wonders, helped protect Stetson Bennett, helped with that running game, helped be a very solid piece and foundation of that offensive line. And with Aaron Rodgers coming over soon, you're going to want to get protection for him. The Jets are really rallying up for a Super Bowl within the next year or two, so they're pushing all their chips in. They just got to steal with Sauce Gardner this year. They feel very confident taking Broderick Jones at this point in the draft. At number 14, we'll have Kalijah Kancey, who had an amazing NFL combine, whose draft stock is slowly rising for sure. I feel like maybe I took Kalijah Kancey a little early here, but I feel as if the Patriots would be the right team to take a type of player early. If I had to pick a guy that would have went over them, maybe a Brian Breesy, maybe a Christian Gonzalez. I feel like maybe I should have went corner for the Patriots as well. But nonetheless, Kalijah Kancey at 14, going to be a solid defensive lineman. I think he'll get coached well by Belichick, who's a defensive coach. The Patriots defense always, historically is going to perform well, and Kalijah Kancey will be able to be extremely molded here. At number 15, we're going to have Jordan Addison, the wide receiver out of USC. Caleb Williams loves throwing to Jordan Addison. Of course, he's going to be a very fun prospect next year to break down quarterback out of USC, the Heisman winner as well. Jordan Addison had a bad combine, though. He had a really rough combine, at least after he ran, I think, his first set of drills or his first 40, his raw athletic score or relative athletic score, I think, was in the 4s. So not very good. A lot of people are saying he was a day 2 pick, but the Packers have scored recently with a Christian Watson. They know that Jordan Love is going to be taking over the helm, so they want to be able to get him a nice receiver in there, and I think Jordan Addison out of USC will be nice for him. Now, here is probably the biggest shocker of my mock draft, and we said it. There was no trades in this draft. I'm probably going to do trades in the next draft. Might end up doing 3 or 4 of these things because I love how PFF makes it simple. I'll even show you the draft capital that you can use. I'm not going to pay extra for the the PFF Plus, but we can still simulate and it'll be in here for you guys. They're not going to sit with Sam Howell at number 16 Washington for the Commanders. They know Sam Howell's not it. Taylor Heineke just left, who was probably the better of the 2 quarterbacks. So they're going to take Hendon Hooker, who did tear his ACL, They're going to take Hendon Hooker, quarterback out of Tennessee, who looked great through a lot of the season, really did. There are some complaints about his pocket presence. There are some complaints about him going through his progressions, but Washington at number 16, they're going to see something in Hendon Hooker. There's been people talking about how he could be franchise. I believe he's got those capabilities to be franchise. Great arm, good on the ground. Again, I think he could see the field better. I'd like to see better pocket presence. That's two very big qualities for a quarterback. But Washington knows Sam Howell's not it. And let's not forget that Eric Bieniemy also is now the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. And it will just be a matter of time before Eric Bieniemy succeeds that offensive coordinator position and will be the head coach of the Washington Commanders after Ron Rivera heads out. And Hendon Hooker will be sitting happily there for him to excuse me, Hendon Hooker will be sitting there happily for him, and he'll have an awesome weapon to be able to work with. Don't want to get the burnout on the NFL draft here. We are going to hit those last 16 picks, but I just want to hit another quick break. Hope you guys are enjoying the draft, NFL mock draft so far. Get in the chat. Let me know what the best pick is so far. What's the worst pick? What's something you would have done different? Where do you see a trade happening? Bruns, I'm going to pull your comment up on the screen here. I won't be mad about JSN, but a young edge rusher would complete our D-line rebuild. I do think JSN would be BPA. I'm not sure what you mean BPA. Would be BPA at that pick. Now, here's the thing for JSN at number 8 to Atlanta. So talking about a young edge rusher, y'all brought in Caden Ellis, who I know is a linebacker, but he can be used in an edge rusher situation to rush the passer. Onyemata is going to have depth. Those aren't two major guys you're going to depend on rushing the passer. You just brought in Calais Campbell, and I'm going to get into the Falcons defense a little later. You just brought in Calais Campbell. Like I said, Grady Jarrett is still there. So I think with where Atlanta falls in this draft, that JSN feels like the best pick compared to what they're looking at. I'm going to have Atlanta taking a quarterback in one of these mocks. I'll have them trading. These mock drafts are going to get crazy. But yeah, if they did go edge rusher, I mean, oh, BPA, yeah, best player available. Yeah, and see, that's what the Falcons did it for when they took Kyle Pitts, which I was not a fan of at all. Yeah, if Atlanta for some reason like had Nolan Smith fall to them, I think that would be a good pickup. Obviously young guy, hell of an athlete. I don't see Will Anderson falling to Atlanta at 8, but that would be another crazy pickup. So yeah, if y'all could get a stud at defensive lineman, a young guy to come in. Because I really think y'all's defense was really bad last year. First of all, I was looking at the numbers. Y'all were like bottom 10 in everything. Turnovers, turnover margin, pass yards, rush yards, total yards, points, you name it. Y'all, Atlanta just wasn't good at it. And that's not to talk shit about Atlanta. But again, bringing in Jesse Bates, bringing in Mike Hughes, bringing in Caden Ellis, bringing in Calais Campbell. Y'all got some pieces. Y'all definitely got some pieces. Y'all are making moves in free agency. And I think Atlanta could be a top 15 defense next year. And that is good enough in the NFL to get you far. Of course, Atlanta has a lot of work to do with the quarterback perspective and getting the offense back right. But yeah. All right. I think we'll go ahead and get back into these picks. Nice little break there. I just didn't want to be grinding through all these picks. All right. At number 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers will take Anton Harrison, tackle out of Oklahoma. They want to be able to protect Kenny Pickett, who didn't look bad last year. I know I didn't have the Steelers in my top 10 players, or excuse me, in my top 10 teams once I ranked the AFC and Aaron Rodgers went there. Little interesting for sure, I know, but they're going to want to protect Kenny Pickett. They were very promising last year. Mike Tomlin is clearly a legend, never had a losing season. So I think I could put the Steelers into that top 10 AFC rankings and take an Anton Harrison here for that protection of Kenny Pickett to help out Najee Harris, to open up the offensive game. That would be a nice pick for them. And number 18, after Nolan Smith is drafted, maybe I goofed here a little as well. At number 18, I have the Lions taking Brian Bresee out of Clemson. Might be a little high of a pick for him, and they just took Nolan Smith at number 6. I don't know. Maybe they could have went running back. Maybe because they just lost Jamal Williams to the Saints. I'm very happy about that pickup. I don't know. Definitely feel like I goofed there at number 18. And number 19, another nice defensive pickup for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The best safety in the draft, in my opinion, Brian Branch out of Alabama. We saw his ball hawking skills. We saw the way that he was able to be agile in the secondary. His intelligence, his vision of the field is very solid. Again, there's never a perfect prospect, but Brian Branch going next to Antoine Winfield, going next to a Carlton Davis, being behind a Levante David, and I want to say a Devin White still. It's just going to add to that defense in Tampa. Number 20, the Seattle Seahawks, going to go in those trenches again. They had Charles Cross last year. I believe the offensive line could have been better for the Seahawks. I want to make sure that I've got these numbers right real quick. Dang, I just had it. Let's see. Taken. Where were they at? And we were Seahawks. Oh well, can't find it. I was trying to see if my numbers are right on before I said that the Seahawks O line could have been better, but DeJuan Jones out of Ohio State, guy that was next to Paris Johnson Jr. as well. You can never go wrong with a guy out of the Big Ten. Um, guy out of the Big Ten with an offensive lineman. Same with Northwestern as well, Peter Skoronski. So they will just follow in those footsteps after taking Jalen Carter, who might be the best player in the draft. They're going to turn around and take another trench player in DeJuan Jones to help protect Geno Smith, to open those lanes for Kenneth Walker, and to let Seattle continue to move on up, as they had a great season last year compared to what they were expected to do. Comeback player of the year in Geno Smith. Number 21, the Chargers, I think, have no other major first round need than wide receiver. Keenan Allen is very good. Keenan Allen is elite when he's healthy, but that is the punchline, is when he's healthy. One of the best route runners in the league. Mike Williams is one of the best big catch guys in the league, one of the best hands in the league. He'll put his body on the line literally to make a catch. And some people might say Bijan Robinson here, which would be crazy to me. Some people think Bijan's going to be a top 20 pick. Obviously, you can see he fell in my draft, but Zay Flowers will be the wide receiver of choice here at number 21 for the Los Angeles Chargers. They just have to get some young men in the wide receiver room and just get some health more than anything. Right after that will be another wide receiver. Number 22 to the Baltimore Ravens will be Josh Downs, wide receiver out of North Carolina. Very solid guy as well. They need a receiver over there. The Ravens have a really interesting draft, though, because I don't think Lamar is going to be a Raven. He has requested a trade, and now knowing that Tyler Huntley could be there to step in, but nonetheless, they need a receiver, like bad. Mark Andrews is there, but is the rookie really going to be able to find him as efficiently as Lamar Jackson was able to, and really use him as that safety blanket? Understand how we can get creative with his tight end? Not necessarily sure, so they bring Josh Downs in. Christian Gonzalez is probably the biggest faller of my first mock draft, all the way at number 23, and I don't think there's a better position for him than the Minnesota Vikings at this point in my mock draft. Andrew Booth is okay in the secondary. They did just lose Patrick Peterson as well. He's now going to be a Steeler, so I think Christian Gonzalez, who I want to say ran, it might have been the fastest 40 at the combine as a corner. Very slim guy, great, great ball skills, controls his body well in the air, good coverage guy. Overall, again, I think the best corner in the draft is Christian Gonzalez, and the Vikings are going to benefit off him very well. Second best corner in the draft, I would say, some might not. Devin Witherspoon at number 24 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're going to have Trayvon Walker. You're going to have Josh Allen, the defensive lineman with the Jaguars. There is, I think, Foye Oluokun as well. They have quite a few players that are looking pretty good with Jacksonville. The offensive side of the ball is great. So bringing in Devin Witherspoon, mentored by some of the veterans that are already over there, also been able to mend with a young team that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Devin Witherspoon will be a good pick here. At number 25, those Giants are going to want to protect Daniel Jones, who just got the bag, who has the coach of the year next to him, who has Saquon Barkley behind him, but also has the slowest wide receiver room in the NFL. But in comes Darren Waller from the Raiders. Great pickup. I think Darren Waller will be, I hope Darren Waller is able to stay healthy this year. Daniel Jones will probably have a good chunk of his yards to Darren Waller, no question about it. It wouldn't surprise me if Darren Waller was the leading receiver for Daniel Jones. So saying all that, they take O'Cyrus Torrence out of Florida, which some people think he's a day 2 pick, but with the way that these offensive line fell in the draft. Osiris Torrance maybe could have went at number 13 where Broderick Jones went to the Jets. Peter Skoronski, Paris Johnson. No, I'm actually going to say that he is behind them realistically. He could have possibly went at 17 or 20 as well, but he's going to fall all the way here to number 25. The Giants love those Florida players as they did take Kadarius Toney, who is a Kansas City Chief now, but they want that protection for Daniel Jones. So they're going to bring in Osiris Torrance off the offensive line. I'd love to get Brian Bresee for the Saints. That would be nice. That would be really nice to get Brian Bresee for the Saints. No question about that. I would just want it to be better than, how it was when we drafted Peyton Turner. That's a guy that, hasn't really done anything. And sorry, I felt like the mic was like super in front of my face. That's a guy who hasn't really done anything. So getting a younger guy and Brian Bresee would be nice. It definitely would be nice for sure. See, I get so OCD about the mic. Taylor always tells me not to touch it. She's going to roast me when I go downstairs. Like, why are you touching your microphone? I know. And number 26, the Dallas Cowboys. I really wanted to go Bijan Robinson here, but the NFL is going to be very, very wary. And it's unfortunate, but makes sense also in an unfortunate way that running backs are not going to be as valued in the first round. Saquon Barkley, I think, was a third overall pick. Ezekiel Elliott was a very high pick as well. He single-handedly made it to where quarterback or running backs will probably never make 15 or 20 million a year again because of how bad that contract was. And, you just find a good late running back guy like Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round. Tyler Algier went to the Falcons. I think he was a day 2 pick, round 2 pick. Alvin Kamara was not a first round pick. So you just find people that are able to be picked up in the NFL draft and boom. Or not, later in the NFL draft or even in free agency, and boom, that's a person that they'll bring in and really make it work. But it's not going to be Bijan Robinson here. You see where he goes later in the draft. They're going to take B.J. Ojulari, edge out of LSU. They're going to put him next to a Micah Parsons, supplement for a DeMarcus Lawrence that feels like he's been disappearing here and there over the last few seasons. So B.J. Ojulari at number 26, Joey Porter Jr. at number 27. Again, I really, really wanted to have see, this is why I can't wait to do another draft. You always got to do the first one. You got to realize, like, damn, that probably shouldn't have went there. Because if I had to go now, I felt kind of guilty putting Jalin Hyatt at number 31. I'm like, damn, is he going to be a first rounder? I feel like the way the NFL falls, he could be a day 2 pick, which then he'll be a steal for anybody. I think he's first round talent, though. I'd love to say that the Bills take Jalin Hyatt at number 27, but I did take a corner here, Joey Porter Jr., out of Penn State. Very solid corner in this draft, and they just need guys in Buffalo to help with that passing defense, to put some help back there, to get some nice corners back there. But if I definitely had to say my biggest mistake of this draft would definitely be the Bills not taking that wide receiver in Jalin Hyatt. And number 28, the Bengals will be bringing in Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher out of Iowa, to help with that line as well. And they have a solid defensive line. They really do. Trey Hendrickson, they've got some of the people on the linebacking core. They have the secondary. So overall, a defense that is doable in the NFL. But being here at number 28, their best player available will possibly be Lucas Van Ness. At number 29, the New Orleans Saints will take Myles Murphy, edge out of Clemson, who is solid. Brian Bresee would be nice as well. Maybe we'll have a Lucas Van Ness fall to us. Maybe we'll have a B.J. Ojulari fall to us. You never know. But we definitely do need interior defensive line and just defensive line in general very badly. We lost Caden Ellis. We lost David Onyemata. Cam Jordan is getting older. So it's very rough. It's very rough for the New Orleans Saints picking here at 29. I'm glad they got a first round pick back. Don't get me wrong about that at all. But yes, they will be taking Myles Murphy here at number 29. At number 30, Bijan Robinson, the first running back off the board. The Eagles really want to make a power move. They lost a good bit of pieces. They're feeling a little rough about it, but they've supplemented as well as they could. And I think they're supplementing well. But Miles Sanders did just get out of town. Bijan Robinson is by far the best running back in this NFL draft. The burst, speed, the agility, everything. Bijan Robinson is one of the cleanest prospects in the NFL this year, or in the NFL draft. Big move here for the Super Bowl runner-ups. Bijan Robinson is going to be great as that two-way player. Really, really like Bijan Robinson going here. This is a splash move for Philadelphia. Philadelphia comes in and takes him off the board. They want to stay in that Super Bowl conversation. They want to keep that offense going. They know the quarterback's coach is now stepping in as that offensive coordinator, and they want to keep that firepower in the offense. Bijan Robinson at number 30. Number 31, and it's probably going to feel really unfair to a lot of people in the NFL. Jalin Hyatt, the rookie, will be with the Kansas City Chiefs alongside of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes underneath the wing of Andy Reid. Absolutely amazing. Jalin Hyatt could have an insane rookie year, potential offensive rookie of the year if he goes off with the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's going to be the first mock draft for the NFL with AJL. Crazy one there for sure. Saints with an iffy pick, Bills with an iffy pick, Cowboys could go either way. Christian Gonzalez was a faller. The Steelers taking an O lineman at 17, JSN going at 8, Anthony Richardson at 7. I like this NFL draft, though. I like this NFL mock draft. It's not as good as the NFL draft we saw a few years back with all of the quarterbacks and wide receivers, and that was just a loaded NFL draft. But I love getting into the players that are coming in. Make sure to check it out. I went through all the picks there. If you can see it on the live stream, the entire first mock draft for the NFL with AJL is there. Y'all get in the comments. Let me know what you think about that first round mock draft. What are some trades you would possibly make? What are some picks you loved? Some picks you hated? Did I get any of this right? Y'all definitely let me know for sure.